Welcome to
The watch. The Chinese watch. Yes.
the Chinese Watch. Today's subject is the Pagani Design GMT. I don't know if it's known by any other name. Usually Pagani Design has a model name for their watches. In this case, if you go to the AliExpress website, it's just mentioned as a Pagani Design GMT. GMT stands for Greenwich Mean Time, and it means in the watch world a watch that has a second hand for a second time zone. Now, this is a relatively new offering from Pagani Design. I bought this one back in, I think it was October of last year, right when Jody introduced it, or a few weeks after, because I like to deliberate before I make a purchase. And so I did look into this one quite a bit before I actually pulled the trigger on it. But having done so, I never regretted buying this watch. It is one of my favorites. Couple of reasons for that. First, it is truly a GMT watch. So what that means is, if you take a look here, there's on a typical watch, you have two hands, an hour hand and minute hand, and of course the second hand. So we'll say three hands on a typical watch: minute, hour, second. Here, though, we have a fourth. This is the GMT hand, this little pointer here. What the GMT hand does is it basically is a 24, it turns this watch into a 24-hour timepiece. The minute hand continues to register the minutes that pass, but if you watch as I turn this crown, you can see the hour hand is moving at the normal rate each time. The minute hand makes a circle, the hour hand advances 1 hour. But if you watch the GMT, it only advances seemingly half an hour. So here we've gone from 7 to 8 on the hour hand, but the GMT hand has only gone from 12 to 12:30. That's because it's a 24-hour hand. So if we go around again to 9 o'clock on the regular hands, you'll see, boom, it's at the 1. And the same thing, if we go to 10 o'clock, it'll be at 1:30. Now what it's doing is tracking the time half as fast as the hour hand goes. So that's a pretty cool trick. The other trick that it does is you can set it. So if I go into the date setting position here, no, that's the winding. There we go. I can flick through the date by going counterclockwise. And then if I go clockwise, whoops, I got stuck halfway between a date. If I go clockwise, now it moves the GMT hand. So I can decide what time zone to set it at. Now what's really cool about this watch is it has 120 click unidirectional bezel that marks out all of the time zones of the world. So there's 24 positions on this bezel, starting at 12 noon with London, LON. I think, I'm not 100% sure that that is the airport code for Heathrow. I'm not sure if it is or not. There's Heathrow and Gatwick are the main international London London airports. But it says LON. Obviously, that stands for London. PAR obviously stands for Paris. CAI, help me out. I don't know. I think MOW is Moscow. That could be an airport abbreviation. I'm not sure. But anyway, if you set this to the correct time in another country, your watch will maintain the time in that time zone on a 24-hour clock. So you'll know whether it's AM or PM. Because if it's 1 PM, that's 1300. Your GMT will be pointing here. And the way that you calculate is you multiply by 2. I know it's sounding rather complicated, but once you get the hang of it, it just takes you a minute or two to figure out what time it is in another country. So you multiply by 2. So if it's right here at the 6 o'clock point, that's 12 noon. But then where's 6 a.m.? It's at the 3 o'clock spot because you multiply by 2. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. Then when you get to 1 o'clock p.m., obviously that is a little bit different. 1 o'clock p.m. is known all over the world and in the U.S. military as 13 o'clock or 1300 or 13 hour. That is the 12 plus 1, 13. Or another way to look at it, 6.5 times 2 is 13. That would be the 2 p.m. slot. The 7 times 2 equals 14, 1400, 2 p.m., and so on. This one came with a defect. The Rio time zone should say RIO, but it says R black line O in this example. So if anybody steals my watch, I'll know. I love the Jubilee bracelet. It's flexible. It doesn't really rattle, but it feels very comfortable to wear. The case, highly polished on the edges. A polished chamfer. It has not exactly a coin edge bezel. The bezel is cut on an angle, so the edge of it comes to a point. And these are kind of cut diagonally into it. What else? This comes with the Seiko NH34A movement. This movement is basically an NH35 Seiko movement. That is to say, the standard current workhorse Seiko movement. It's a hacking, hand-winding 25 jewel automatic display back. It's not the prettiest movement in the world, but it is still cool to look at. Gotta love watching the balance wheels snapping back and forth. It's at 28,000 beat per hour. You want measurements? You got measurements. Did that 0? For the bezel diameter, we are looking at a little over 40 millimeters in diameter, 40.38. We have a thickness of 13. Come on, what are you coming to? 13.35, so less than 13.5 millimeters in thickness. The overall diameter, it's kind of hard to say because it's basically a 40 diameter, 40 millimeter. Here's what it looks like on my wrist. Some of the reviewers have really thrown shade on the crown guard for this watch. That's the two little stubs that come up on either side of the crown. People say it doesn't really protect it. I think it's really just there to look cool, and I think it does that job just fine. I think it looks pretty cool. I really think this dial is gorgeous. If you look at the parts where I'm playing the light across the face of the watch, it really comes out really well on video, even more than in person. But it's reminiscent of an LP record. If you remember those, it kind of has the same effect of when you play light across the surface, there's a swirl of light that circles the hole in the center of the record. And this dial does the same thing. It has deeper grooves that are cut between the indices, so it has kind of a two-tone look to it. Anyway, this is the Pagani Design GMT in red with black dial. If you don't have one already, wait for a sale. It's probably going to come down again. Finally, I just want to say thank you so much for watching my videos. You've surprised me quite a bit, and it's really encouraging, and I'm going to make more. I'm going to show you all of my Chinese watches. I'm going to show you some of my Swiss watches and American watches too. And you might even see an English watch from time to time. Keep on watching the channel. The videos are getting better. If you want to help the channel to grow, I appreciate if you think of it to hit the like button, maybe even subscribe, who knows. And thank you for the one person who's already made a comment. You're awesome. And thanks again for watching. Bye for now. Take care.